Before we get to today's operation, if we could recap the situation up until this point. So it began, obviously, with the oil spilling into Gibraltar waters, and it was a containment, clean-up focus. So how has that advanced over the last 2 weeks?
I think the critical advancement that we've achieved is pumping out all the pumpable fuel. So when we have an oil spill, the first thing you try to do is make sure that the source is eliminated. So we do a layered approach. First of all, you take out the origin where the fuel is coming from. Then you try and contain the oil wherever possible. And as a third tier, you also try and capture, corral any free-floating oil which has made its way out of containment. We are now at a stage where pumpable oil has been eliminated from the vessel. There is still residue coming off, but that residue is from oil booms which have been soiled during the containment phase, as well as some dirty metal on the ship which will be washed by wave action and will let go of some sheening. But we are not at a stage where we have a continuing oil spill by any means.
Which is the priority, I imagine. So as to today's, the ongoing operation today, in layman's terms, we're trying to get the entire vessel, which has broken to the bottom of the sea, so it's settled there and is less subject to the weather that we're expecting over the weekend.
Absolutely. The idea is very simple. We have a vessel which is in effect broken in two. It's connected by what can best be described as a hinge of worn and stressed metal. Right now it hinges up and down because we've had benevolent weather. If we start having sideways action on this, you start adding the stress, and eventually that will fail. Calculations that we had dating back to a week when the plan was first presented to us by Salvage concluded that the vessel would have a finite amount of being able to withstand 1 meter swell. Time has passed, the damage on the hull has increased during this period, and when we're faced with a situation where we have a weather forecast advising between 1 and 2.5 meters swell, there is very little benefit for us to take a gamble and say, we hope the vessel will ride the weather. In that situation, the best thing we can do is stabilize the ship. When we lower the stern section, which still has some buoyancy, we have the entire vessel flat. And then what you have is you no longer have the pressure point in the middle.
Okay.
And that pressure point in the middle is at a critical position, because that is very close to some of the oil tanks from which we recovered oil. But if we can avoid the ship breaking up in an uncontrolled manner and then further damaging those oil tanks, decapitating them as it were, and exposing all the residues that will remain inside to the sea, we're already making further progress.
Time is obviously a factor here. We need to get this done before the bad weather arrives. You told me that this was you're being so conservative with the operation to make sure nothing goes wrong, that it is a little slower than expected. Are you confident that this will be done by the time the bad weather hits Gibraltar?
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons we took the decision to start the operation today. The bad weather is expected to arrive Sunday afternoon, and the swell will build up as it normally does with the Levanta by Monday. By Sunday midday, and from there it'll carry on increasing. That means that we have all of tonight for the vessel to settle down in a very controlled manner, in a very deliberate manner that doesn't put any stress on the hull. And we have all of tomorrow to sweep up with the boom that's currently deployed around the vessel of anything that comes off the vessel in the controlled lowering operation that we're doing.
And looking ahead, we're not expecting the worst storm in the world over the weekend.
Absolutely.
There will be worse weather coming. Will more need to be done to change it, to secure the vessel once it's at the seabed, or is once this is done, this part of the operation is done with?
This part of the operation is done with. Basically, there will be an overwatch. There will be additional follow-up of the vessel. There'll be diver inspections. Every time we have a weather incident, there'll be further diver surveys. If we see that there's any deterioration, we will try and remediate that. But this is the best step that we can take to stabilize what is a very dynamic situation and bring it to an element of greater control.
And very quickly, finally, where we did mention that there were some oil deposits that were found in Catalan Bay. Was this within the range of what you're expecting might still happen?
Yes, and I think critically we are convinced that this isn't new oil that has come from the ship. This is the sort of stuff that was entrapped in the protection boom that we had ranging out from Catalan Bay, which we removed today as part of the process for preparation for bad weather tomorrow afternoon. This is something that residents of Catalan Bay were already advised about. So it's something that we expected. This is tar balls, which tends to be much more weathered oil, which has been exposed to sea conditions for longer. So it's not something that has come out from the ship today.